Earth's gravity is like going through a hangover really fast. Or so I'm told. I'm straight edge, unlike my fellow passengers. It's hard to tell if they're vomiting because of the alcohol or because of the shuddering ship we're in and how it's going really far, really quickly. They're being sick now, many of them into shiny mess bags. Some puke particles escape only to be sucked up by the air filter. Meanwhile, my stomach feels like iron. I've been on this trip many times. Most of these astro oligarchs are visiting their families' holdings for the first time, asteroid mines of incalculable riches, or slingshot stations to lasso, home, or loot, but I'm just hitching a ride. I'm going to Dust World. My family's rise to riches began with my grandmother, who invented the counter that tells you how many water bottles you're saving at the refilling station. She had always dreamed of space. So when they auctioned off the Lagrange points, the points of fixed gravitational position tethered to the Earth, she was ecstatic. Here was her opportunity. A Lagrange point is an area of gravitational equilibrium between two larger heavenly bodies, in this case, the Earth and the Sun. And if you put something in there, like an asteroid full of a planet's worth of diamonds, for instance, it stays there. It was a gold rush in the waiting, as soon as they made the rockets to get there. A worldwide public-private auction was launched, a chance to acquire a little corner of space and live 1,000 lifetimes off whatever you could stick there. Their own little world, bursting with impossible mineral riches. Of course, there was risk. You might get a chunk of space too volatile to hold one of those big rocks. You might offset the gravitational equilibrium with the matter you bring in and waste away getting there, unable to get home. Or you might buy Dust World. My grandmother paid $17.2 billion for exclusive rights to Lagrange point LR5, and after countless billions more to get there, she peered out of the cockpit, and there it was. Dust. Matter, moving slowly enough that when it hit that speed bump, it just stopped. My family had just traded nearly all its wealth for that dust. Dust gets in everything. Every precise firing of your engine, every turn, every navigational instrument gets that dust in it. So when you try to swing an asteroid into your new corner of space, you miss. And then that asteroid hits Mercury. And everyone suddenly seems to have a lot of opinions about a planet that's pretty unimportant, if you ask me. Maybe grandmother begins to lose the plot a little bit because 4 other families have become wealthier than any human beings have ever been, while she's the laughingstock of the entire long arc of history. So she comes up with something called Dust World. She buys ad space everywhere on Earth, inviting curious self-starters to saddle up, because they can build the future they want out there. Manifest destiny. People believed in my grandmother, seemed to think they could live there, and that they could make their own food, or water, or air. Most of them only took enough fuel to get there, not to come back, because fuel is expensive, as are the settlements for all the lawsuits about all those dead bodies floating around out there in Dust World. So my family's business stopped being a business at all. My grandmother mostly wandered around the battlements of her castle, looking through her telescope, muttering to herself like a sim that needs the bathroom. It's up to her children, my father and aunt, to begin the work that brings me into space today, bringing the bodies back. Turns out the only real way to do this thing is to do it like the asteroid miners. We head out to Dust World with some extra fuel. We swing on over to the spaceship turned meat locker, give them a little bit of a push, and we do our best to slingshot them back to Earth. And someone on the other end hops into the craft when it comes into our planet's orbit, and they bring them back down best as they can. None of this, by the way, is easy or safe for us. My aunt died doing it from the dust. And my sister and I switch off who has to go to Dust World. This time it's me. As a young Russian man meaningfully shakes a little vomit out of his pouch toward me, I think about what it is that we owe each other. I don't have to do anything at all. I don't have to go to Dust World. Nobody's forcing me. Nobody forced those people to go there. Nobody forced my grandmother to buy it. The optimism burned into our odd ape brains that took us all the way from the mud into these polycarbon tubes in space. It tells us we will succeed. And then when we don't, it feels like a crime. It feels like a crime, whether, by the way, in this case it is actually technically a crime, is being determined in court, and I choose not to speculate. These fucked up trillionaires are supposed to return with a bunch of shiny carbon they find in space. I'm supposed to return with a bunch of carbon that used to be people that were just like them. Just like them, but unlucky. Way less lucky than them, a little less lucky than me, but however much luck we have, however many minerals we find, sooner or later we all end up in Dust World.